Well, I just got back from seeing the Joker. This review is probably going to be a little bit of a longer one because there's a lot to talk about in this movie. You know, when I went to this movie, I was already very excited to see this movie, but I wanted to temper my expectations because I was still like, you know what, there's still a possibility I might not like this movie. So I gotta just keep my expectations in check while I'm watching this movie. But man, I'm having a hard time still formulating exactly what I want to say about this movie because I just got out of it and I'm still just kind of mind blown by the entire experience. But let's just start off with Joaquin Phoenix, okay? Joaquin Phoenix is incredible in this movie. Absolutely incredible. I was already expecting Joaquin Phoenix to be amazing in this movie, but no, he blew my expectations out of the water with his performance in this movie. It is easily the best performance of this year, and easily one of the best performances that we've gotten in a really, really long time. We might not have gotten this good of a performance since Heath Ledger. He just was that good in this movie. It was such an incredible experience getting to watch Joaquin Phoenix play the Joker. And the amazing thing about this movie was that it was all from his perspective throughout the entire movie. And he killed it. He absolutely crushed it in this movie. It was all from the perspective of the Joker. And it's so cool because at the same time, it was done in such a way that made you feel his insanity, his suffering, his tragedy, his pain, all of that type of stuff. This movie did such a great job in making you feel that as you're watching the Joker. So, you know, shout out to Joaquin Phoenix for that. He better be nominated for Best Actor for this movie. He better be, because holy crap, he is so good in this role. I could gush about him being the Joker this entire video, but we have other things that we need to talk about as well. The music, okay? The music stood out to me in this movie because it is absolutely amazing. Some of the best music that I've heard in the cinema in a long time. Music usually doesn't stick out to me because usually it's pretty mediocre. Let's just be honest. Most music is not very memorable, at least the music that's being made nowadays. This soundtrack was so good. It did such a good job with enhancing the tragedy of the Joker and making you feel what he is going through. I'm going to be listening to this soundtrack nonstop because it is absolutely fantastic. So good. The other thing that really stood out to me was just the fact that this movie is absolutely a character piece about the Joker. If you're going in expecting this movie to be an action-packed movie, you're going to be disappointed. You know, I wasn't expecting there to be very much action in this movie, and this movie had less action than I was expecting. This movie is nothing but pure drama and nothing but a pure character piece about the Joker. This movie is all about the Joker, and it is done so well. It is such a beautiful movie because they managed to tell the origin of the Joker in such a complex and deep and beautiful way and tragic way. You feel him slipping into madness throughout the entire movie. There isn't just one thing that sets it off. There are so many layers. There are so many things that happen. There's so much complexity in this movie that brings him to the end as the Joker. It all makes sense at the end of the movie, and as you're watching it, you're just like, man, there's so much going on here. There's so much that's happening. It was so well orchestrated, so beautifully orchestrated, so well done to everyone that worked on this movie, because this movie is so good. This movie is a masterpiece. And I don't say that about very many movies. In fact, I'm very, 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 very cautious about the movies that I say are masterpieces, especially movies that had just come out, right? Like, I just got out of seeing this movie. This movie is a masterpiece. And I don't have anything bad to say about this movie because everything about this movie is so beautiful and so tragic and so dark. The funny thing about this movie is that it's a movie that the theme about this movie has a lot to do with comedy and humor and funny and comedy, just comedy. But at the same time, I don't know how Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix pulled this off, but somehow they were able to make a movie that the main theme is comedy, and it's comedy from the perspective of the Joker and what he finds funny, But at the same time, it is one of the most depressing, tragic, and dark movies I have ever seen. And I don't know how they were able to pull that off. How they were able to pull off that kind of clash that you would expect in a movie that's trying to be a dark, tragic movie, but at the same time showing comedy from the perspective of the Joker. I don't know how they made that work, but somehow they did, and it worked so perfectly. It worked so perfectly. This movie is so good, and they don't make movies like this anymore. They don't make movies like this anymore. We don't get movies that are this rich, this deep. Man, this movie is just, it's so good, guys. I know I keep saying that. I'm still just kind of shocked at how amazing this movie is. One of the best comic book movies that have ever been made, and I hope that this really does inspire people to really kind of start to branch off in the comic book genre a little bit, because, you know, things are just kind of being the same stuff over and over again in the comic book genre, and I hope that this movie really does inspire other filmmakers to, you know, bring their own voice to the comic book genre and do your own thing. And don't be afraid to do your own thing, you know? Like, your movies don't have to be like Marvel every time, you know? And this movie is a prime example of that. So, it's sad that the critics are hating on this movie so much, because this movie is one of the best movies that we've gotten in a long time. It is absolutely my favorite movie of the year. I am giving this movie 5 stars because it totally deserves it. The only other movie that I've given 5 stars so far this year is, I believe, John Wick Chapter 3. And that's a very soft 5 stars, but this movie is absolutely a 5-star movie, and there's not even a single question in my mind about that. This movie absolutely deserves all the praise that it gets. And like I said, this movie is indeed a masterpiece. I don't like to say that about movies usually when they first come out, especially, but this movie, I don't have any other way of explaining it. Like I said, this movie is a slow burn, so go in expecting that. Okay, this movie is nothing but pure drama, pure character development, and it does it so well. I'm blown away. I really am. So anyway, I do want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the Joker, if you have seen it. And if you haven't, then I hope that you do check it out soon, because it is absolutely worth it. You know, so far, out of all the movies that have come out this year, I recommend this one the most, just because it is so well done. It honestly, the other thing I was surprised about was just how little violence there was in this movie as well, which was kind of interesting as well. It was a drama. It was a character piece drama, and it was so well done. I want to go see it again. I'm shook. I'm shook at how good this movie is. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think if you've seen it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this review, and I will talk to you all very soon in another video. Talk to you later. Bye.
With my heart still